Our first local race meeting for the new week is back in the Paris Cape with the Western Cape Racecourse of Hollywood at Kenilworth. It is a 10-race program, and of course that means our bipod starts in a race number 2. We'll be discussing that bipod shortly, but of course a reminder that if you're still looking back on what was an epic weekend of racing at Turpentine, and then of course there was that 9-race program at Kenilworth, you can always get in touch with us via our handle, that is X, formerly Twitter, or alternatively via WhatsApp. Right, I've got Daryl Marie and Darren Barrows, so we've got the whole team with us to start the new week. It is a Tuesday racing at Kenilworth, and that bipod starts race 2 at 12:40. And I've got to say, let's start on a high. You gave us 2 horses for the Classic, and they ran first and second. And that was, of course, the Dagans winner, who's now a Grade 1 Classic winner, and the Guineas winner, Sandringham Summit, going down by that 3/4 of a length.
Yes, so we did get that right for a change, but punters won't remember that. They'll just remember the losers I took.
No. Basically, it was one of those. You remember, I was into Storm Brasco, etc., but not quite. In fact, if anything, Otto Ruby ran a cracker. Let's Go Now ran third from the stable in the preceding race in the Phillies Classic. So well done to the connections. Right. Let's get into that bipod. You'll be giving us the bipod selection, but of course, let's welcome Mr. Burrows. Mr. Burrows, it was Cape Town racing on Sunday, and we're back there on Tuesday. And as far as Sunday, a bit of a bloodbath. I looked at the dividends, and they weren't the easiest to find some of the results.
Very difficult, even my horse, Culp Forest, he was a bit disappointing. We expected him to win, and he cruised up to them and didn't find extra the final 200 meters, but he did return a bit lame. Race 2, I thought Star Performer well overdue his maiden victory, and I think he'll get it right this time around. I think the drop back to 1,000 meters is going to suit him, and there's not much opposition to take him on. The stable's in form, jockey in form. I think he's got everything in his favor to get out the maiden ranks.
Yes, indeed. Comes in with some very, very tidy form. Of course, Riverstone, we saw that victory on Mets Day. And 3 runs back, we saw a big unit who's since come through and run some decent post-maiden, put up some decent post-maiden performances. Now, does the Star Performer make a worthwhile banker, or are you going to take the cautious route?
Absolutely. I believe he's a banker, Cecil. I like the fact that he's coming back in trip. We have seen him over-race in the past, so I think he'll settle beautifully over 1,000. Contested a very competitive maiden plates in his last starts. I think that form line is certainly going to hold up. Pink Moon is a comment in the front of the box. She is returning from a layoff. She's working well and they're expecting a good run. I just had a look at the form around her. There were fillies quite close up in her last start that appeared to be very average. I'm looking for improvement from number 6 of here, Palace Gift. Had excuses on debut. He's been rested and gelded. I think he does have scope for improvement. So confident banker number 2, Star Performer in the opening leg.
Okay, let's confirm that bipod selection from Daryl, so we know that he is bankering Star Performer in a race number 2, and it certainly does jump off the page as one of the standouts. And at this moment in time, as we are talking about racing at Kenilworth, the price of a Star Performer is 12 to 10. Dare say that will not be the case. And looking at the 6 of Palace Gift, I'm looking at Palace Gift currently at a 40 to 1, so you could have found us one there. That is a Palace Gift. Right, there is the selection from Mr. Burrows, a confidence selection. As I say, it does stand out as one of the better bets on the afternoon, and it's a banker for Daryl. There will be a banker in that penultimate leg, race number 6, and that is number 2, as we head to the conclusion of our first exotic, the bipod. Number 2 in race 6 is Basic Maneuvers. As we navigate our way through a 10-race program, race number 3 will be the first leg of our second big exotic, the place accumulator. That's an off time of a 13.15 to an open handicap. And right now it is priced up at 22 to 10. Your co-favorites, the 3 Eleorix and the 7 Charlene. The former is in the colors of the ASSM Racing Syndicate Silks with the Shadow and Worn Ribbon, and the latter, Charlene, in the colors of Owner Breeders Drogensteen Stud nominee, Mrs. Gaynor Rupert. Now, as far as race 3 is concerned, those 2 either or get us through the first leg of the PA, or you think you can possibly challenge them, Mr. Burrows?
It looks between those 2. Eleorix, the drop-in trip suited her last time out. She was narrowly beaten. And Charlene's very consistent, and her best form has come over 1200 meters. So 3 and 7, the top weights, should fight it out. And then I've included my horse, Lady Loxton, only because Richard Fourie opted to ride her. And, on that run to Tibetan voyage, she wasn't beaten far, and that was at level weights. This is now a handicap, so she's got 55.5 kilos. We're just hoping for big improvement this time around because she hasn't run a place in all her starts. So 3, 7, and 12.
3, 7, and 12 from Mr. Burrows, and I say our colleague is certainly rubbing shoulders with some heavy knockers here, big knockers. Greenacre Trust, Mr. Marsh Shirtliff, the ITSSA IT and Business Solutions as part of his group of owners in his horse number 12, Lady Loxton.
Yeah, she has been disappointing, Cecil. Hopefully she can feature here for the connection's sake. In that last start behind Simply Beautiful, I actually watched the replay because it was a roughie that I tipped over the weekend, that 40-1 shot that I fancied from the Nell Yard. He was in that race and he failed to fire. I think he ran 6. Anyway, obviously this is an open maiden, Cecil, so the obvious runners over here with the form are Ellerix and Charlene, but they are going to have to do it the hard way by giving weight all round. But they do have the form to be competitive. Number 5, True Horizon. You have to have respect for her. I mean, she's only got 52.5 to shoulder. She should be thereabouts. But I'm looking for major improvement from the one at the bottom of the boards, and that's number 1, Wedding Bells. Now, she's been priced up currently at 66-1, Cecil.
Indeed.
Let me just
They are bigger roughies, believe it or not.
Let me just tell you why I fancy her. Firstly, I had a look at her siblings. Her brother by Ideal World won over 1200, and her sister won over 1000 meters. So I'm hoping that coming back in trip could see some improvement. Have a look what happened to her in her later start. She showed some good pace and she reported to have choked up. Now I see the tongue tie gets fitted. And she's only got 54.5 to shoulder. So I'm not saying she is going to improve. I'm saying at 66-1, I think she represents some value. I'm going to be having an each way bet on her. So for the PA, I went numbers 1 and 3.
1 and 3 for Darryl. Let's just confirm it is 1 and 3 in that place accumulator, and I do believe that we are going to retain the bankering of the 2 in leg 4. That is race number 6 being basic maneuvers, but we also have a banker in the preceding leg 3, and that's number 1, Heliotrope from the Baz Robinson stable. It is race 3 off at 13:15, leg 1 of the PA. Well, race 4 will be the first leg of the Pick 6. This is the Cape Turf Club of Syndicates Open Maiden Plate, and it's over the 1200 meters. We have lost what would have been the first choice in our computer form publication, Tambourine Man. That's number 7. And your favorite is now the 5, Klopse, and that is at 3-1, 4-1, number 8, Explosive Speed. Also 4-1 is number 12, and that is Moon Acres. Right, that is race number 4. Mr. Burrows, it's a field that's been reduced to 13 runners. Obviously, the form that Klopse comes into when race number 4 is favourite would either have been franked or basically blown out of the wind in the preceding race with Candace's horse Ellerix coming out of that sooty form line.
Yes, he's got to have a big chance in this lineup. He's consistent. His last start, I thought, a bit disappointing, but he is one of the horses to beat. Explosive Speed, I think the drop back to sprinting trips is going to suit this horse. Last time out, 1,000 meters improved. This is probably the ideal trip for him. Terminator interests me. I know he's rested since October, but the Null stable can get them ready after a break, and this horse could be anything still. He's only had 2 starts, hasn't been disgraced. And Moon Acres absolutely flew from no man's land to run a length off Dancing to the Light last time out, and he could be competitive. So 5, 6, 10, and 12.
5, 6, 10, and 12 for Mr. Burrows in the 4th race. You are doing us the Pick 6, which is a rarity for us coming through from you. Scratched as the 7, 5, 6, 10, and 12. Would you go wider, or have you gone narrower as far as that first leg is concerned?
I don't have the 10. There's a comment in the front of the computer film saying that he's looking for further. I went with numbers 1, 3, 5, 6, and 12 here, Cecil. Firstly, with regards to Klopse Klopse, what price is number 13?
13 of that is Lord Quinn. Lord Quinn is currently showing, and that is at the lower end of the scale, 16 to 1.
Yeah, so Klopse Klopse and Lord Quinn, I mean, there's not much separating the two of them. Probably Klopse Klopse should make further improvement. Probably in need of his comeback starts as a gelding. So I didn't include the 13, but I'm a little bit hesitant with regards to that form line. Number 12 also doesn't really jump out at me, that form line. But yeah, you got a horse having its peak run with Richard Free, only carrying 56. So Richard will know him better in a race this time around. I think number 3 could be the improve over here. You know, he's had 7 starts to date. Recently, he's showed a lot of pace in his races. He's actually having his first run up the straight. So coming back in trip, trying the straight for the first time, I wouldn't be shocked to see him improve. Number 1, tried the tongue tie last time out. A lot of pace, only tired late. 53.5 to shoulder. Don't be surprised to see him thereabouts. But my first pick by quite some distance is number 6, Explosive Speed. Now, I like what Darren said. He's having his peak run. This will probably be his most effective track and trip. 1,000 meters, a little bit too short for him last time out. 1,200, 56.5 to shoulder. 6 from 1, 3, 5, and 12.
Yes, and of course, that will be the third run after that gelding. Let's just confirm Darrell's numbers, and you will not be surprised to see that in leg number 3, it is Bank at the 2 once again. So the 2 is very pivotal to the well-being and the mood of Mr. Marie. 3 o'clock or 10 past 3, we should see him smiling, or it will be a very, very sullen Mr. Marie. That is race 4, where the pick 6 begins and is gone wide, and that is an outlay of 1,260 Rand, an open maiden over the 1,200 meters. Okay, so we're into another open maiden as we get into race number 5. It's over the 1,800 meters this time, and we're looking at a reminder on screen, and I really wish I would remind you more that you can get in touch with us on our X handle, formerly known as Twitter, or alternatively, you can get hold of Darren and Darrell via our WhatsApp number. Do that, and I'm sure they'll only be too happy to engage with you. Right, let's get to engage with Darrell this time about race number 5. Distance is 1,800 meters, another maiden handicap. And what are we looking at? The one Heliotrope, I know you bank it in your PA, is at 22 to 10, Aldo and Candice Bass Robinson. And the others to look at, number 11, Sansa's Stark is at 9 to 2, 5 to 1 the 10. Lickety Split, and then a 6 to 1 about number 6, Princess of Bayou, and the 7, English Mistress, as well as the 8, Little Lexi, is at 8 to 1. So once you look beyond the one Heliotrope, it becomes an open affair.
It does, Cecil. You know, once again, an open maiden, and we try look for some value, but I couldn't find any in this race. I actually think the race will be dominated by the fillies that finished alongside each other in their later start. That being number 1, Heliotrope, and number 6, Princess of Bayou. Now, if you watch that replay, Princess of Bayou was returning from a layoff on that occasion, and she skipped for home. She probably went 6 or 8 lengths clear at the top of the straight, and she just tired very late. So she is going to strip fitter, having her second run after a rest, and she's a kilogram better off with Heliotrope. But now Heliotrope has improved with the blinkers. She's putting 2 very consistent runs with them on. She's got Aldo from a 1 draw, probably be a little bit closer to the pace this time round. So I think she's more reliable than Princess of Bayou is, but I wouldn't be shocked to see her reverse the form with her. So I'm going 1 from 6. Just Heliotrope. In a penultimate start, she ran second to Dreamcatcher or Searcher. Now, Dream Searcher has had a post-maiden run, and she just got touched off. She ran second behind Lorena. Lorena from the Justin Snaith yard. So 1 from 6 for me, Cecil.
1 from 6. So now, Mr. Burrows, I think we have the pleasure of your jackpot. That is jackpot one. Be reminded that it is a 10 race program. So we will be having a second jackpot start only in race number 7. But we have one jackpot selection, and that will be the at the pleasure of Mr. Burrows. Now, your first choice in race number 5 is the Heliotrope at currently at 22 to 10.
Yes, my narrow first choice is Heliotrope because she's improved with the blinkers. But if you go back 3 runs, she ran 4th to Family Power. She had English Mistress ahead of her, number 7. She had Sansa Stark ahead of her, number 11. And she had Princess of Bayou behind her. So that's a form line also to follow where numbers 1, 6, 7, and 11 ran against each other. And number 7, English Mistress came up trumps. Her rating has dropped from an 80 to a 74 in her last 2 starts. So she could be very competitive. Lickerty splits an improver up in trip. The 1800 could suit her down to the ground. But it is more open than what the betting suggests, even though Heliotrope probably the horse to beat.
Thank you very much. Let's just confirm what sort of a jackpot Darren has put together for us. It is the banker in leg number 3, and we'll be discussing that banker in more detail. That is race number 7, and I do believe that is the Crawford runner, and that goes by the name number 2, Alain Maurice, Richard 3 for the Crawford stable. That's an off time to race number 5 of 14:25. I do believe the name Basic Maneuvers has featured on the show quite a bit as we discussed Darryl's various exotic selections. And now we're at that race. This is the Class 4. It's over the 1800 meters and Basic Maneuvers. One, it's maiden impressively and looking to go on and expected to go on, obviously, by Mr. Marie. The favorite, though, is a 5, a penny, and that is at 22 to 10. And then a couple of runners bracketed at 15 to 4. They are the 2 Basic Maneuvers and the 6 Typeface, the latter. Vaughan Marshall and Ozzy Noche team up. The Basic Maneuvers, Paul Reeves and Richard Free team up. Pray tell, you were obviously impressed by the maiden win.
Cecil, I was actually impressed by her penultimate start when she ran behind Flamboyant Flyer. I went back and I watched that replay and I said this filly was desperately unlucky not to have won on that occasion. And for that reason, I tipped her in her later starts. And in her later start, she never came off the bit. She won oh so impressively with a ton in hand. So I think this filly is on the upgrade. She loved the step up in trip. You can see Richard Freeze actually booted to a penny home in her latest 2 victories. And he, I'm certain, would have had the choice of rides. And he's opted to go for Basic Maneuvers. In my mind, that's the way I read into it. Over to a penny. I mean, there's no reason for him to have been jocked off to a penny, is there?
Well, this is what I was going to say to you. Basically, it's a case of who had the choice, Aldo or Richard, and you reckon Richard had the choice?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because old Aldo's mount is coming off 2 successive wins as well from an informed stable. And, of course, Mr. Burrows will be able to tell us because that's a stable. But yes. You continue.
Yeah, so by now we will know if Heliotrope has franked that form or Princess of Bayou. But I really think this filly's going about racing in the right manner. She's improving steadily, and she's unexposed over this distance. She's only at 1 start and she's won, so she's gonna go very close to backing up that victory. You know, Cecil, on the same day as her win in her last start, Summer Night City ran the very same day, and her time was 3 1/4 lengths quicker than Summer Night City, and she ran carrying 1.5 kilograms more. So if you do read into time, she should have the beating of Summer Night City. And if you like To a Penny, you must like Typeface.
Yeah. But I might just better off with To a Penny.
Yeah, I might just add there have been 5 runners from that form line, and all 5 have run unplaced in their next starts. So I'm going all in over here, Basic Maneuvers. I made her the best bets on the card.
Right, Mr. Burrows, we're now touching on your stable, and who would have had the choice here of rides? Would Aldo have had the choice of ride on the 2 Basic Maneuvers, or would Richard have preferred to ride the Basic Maneuvers? You can solve the puzzle here.
Not really. I'm not too sure what happened there because To a Penny has improved in the last 2 starts, and she's been impressive. I mean, she's got up late to win in both times. and she beat Typeface narrowly last time out. Now she takes on Typeface once again, slightly worse off at the weights. And I think the 5 and 6 are both big runners. Basic Maneuvers, the step up in trip, and she won very comfortably last time out. She can get involved. Summer Night City and Cloud Chaser of the rest. I included all of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And of course, whilst I was asking you the question, Mr. Marie, left after leaving us in suspense for so long, did talk about the natural riding weight or the walking weight, and Aldo cannot do the 55 that Basic Maneuvers comes into the race with, so I think he has solved that conundrum for us. But it is your pick 3, and there again, there is that bank in the 2 that we saw in the jackpot, and that is Alain Maurice. It's an off-time 2 race, and number 6 of 3 o'clock. Of course, that is the second leg of the first jackpot. Okay, so we get to the start of jackpot at 2. This is the 7th of 10 at Hollywood Bets. Kenilworth is the class 4. It's over the mile, and your current ruling favourite is holding thumbs at 3-1, bidding for that second win from a lightly raced 3-run career. The second favourite is Alain Maurice, and there has been interest to nibble into 7-2 from the 4-1. 4-1 is the 6th, the Unicorn Alert. Now, race number 7, it is a field of 13, and only the one scratching so far. We touched on that earlier on. 13 runners to face up. And how do you see the 7th unfolding, sir?
Cecil, number 2 of your Alain Maurice, you can see in his comeback effort, he really was doing his best work late on that occasion. He was dropped in from a wide draw, and he took off in the latter stages. Kind of strip fitter, Richard Free in the irons, gained the extra 200 meters. Yeah, he's always been a nice sort. Just wasn't performing on the track. So I think the rest has certainly done him the world of good. So he has to be one for the shortlist of the year. In my mind, the value is number 5, All About Ronnie. From that form line, we saw Katsu win over the weekend. We saw Luso Verde run second. Now, he had all the excuses under the sun in his late start around the bend. He's having his peak run, come down in the ratings. At 25-1, I don't believe you can get hurt. So numbers 2 and 5 to fight it out.
All right, so the Crawford stable is simmering right now, Mr. Burrows, and Alain Maurice. They train at Luce Verde that has been alluded to as having run second, and I think they had a first-timer run in the first race and ran a decent second. That is the Crawford stable. Now, Alain Maurice, I know you are keen on, and tell us a bit more.
I like him. You know, if the second run after a rest doesn't catch him out, I think he'll win because he's running off a very competitive rating. He's got the draw. He can get positioned well by Richard Fourie, and hopefully he's too good for this field. I need to touch on something that happened over the weekend with regards to Almond C. Now, a very well-known owner sent me a message regarding she's in ICU, and after 2 hours, she died. So I literally forwarded the message to my group saying that Almond C died. I literally forwarded the exact message that was sent to me, only to find out in the morning that Sporting Post writes an article saying all is well with Almond C. And then I felt like a complete idiot because I'd forwarded false information. So I took it up with the person that sent it to me, and he apologized. But I spoke to Tony Peter on Sunday morning, and he said it's all fine. It's just a misunderstanding, and everything will be okay. So I just want to apologize once again to the Connections and the Peter family. In future, I will go through a trainer or a connection direct before forwarding information that could be false.
All's well that ends well, and hopefully we will be ending race number 7 well with Alain Maurice coming through to take out a race number 7. That is a 2, Brett Crawford, and a man who has certainly got an impressive strike rate for him. That is Richard Fourie in the saddle.